I'm convinced old people don't realize we're not still living in the 70s. It's been decades since these people were young, but still, they just can't fathom that a lot of things are different these days. It's harder to find a good job these days. It's a lot harder to afford to buy a house. It's harder to afford anything. Cars are expensive. College is ridiculously expensive compared to back in the day. And dating is a lot more difficult, especially for men, maybe only for men. You could argue dating is easier than it's ever been for women these days. But my parents' generation, the boomers, and even a lot of Gen X and older millennials sometimes, they really just don't get it. The other day, my aunt and her husband were over here at my mom's house, and we were all sitting around the living room talking. They all got to talking about younger men these days. My mom was lamenting the fact that men these days don't have manly hobbies. Their hobbies aren't productive anymore. Men aren't handy anymore. And my aunt and uncle were joining in too, fully in agreement. They were talking about back in my day, all the guys used to be into cars. They would fix up cars just for fun. Men used to like fixing things. And my aunt even said something like, she was like, I don't even call them men anymore. These men in the younger generation are just boys. They're not men, they're boys. They never grow up. And everyone was just nodding along. Even my aunt's husband was like, that's right. When I was 16, me and my daddy built my first car. My daddy taught me how to fix the air conditioning, how to fix up cars. Men these days can't even fix a leaky faucet. And my aunt was just sitting there like, yep, exactly. That's right. And it's like, what about your generation's responsibility in all this? He said it himself. His dad taught him how to do those things. And I'm looking at my aunt while she's nodding along to all this like, what useful skills did you teach your daughter? Where is your daughter right now, by the way? Oh, that's right. You don't even fucking know. She's probably off doing drugs somewhere. Meanwhile, we're all sitting here with her son, my aunt's grandson, and I have to take care of him day in and day out because the woman you were supposed to raise obviously wasn't raised right. That's the problem with these older generations. They will never own up to their own actions that caused this hell on earth situation that the younger generations are living through right now. And when my uncle was saying all this, it's like, okay, you built a car when you were 16. What the hell have you been doing since then? Because as far as I can tell, you are more addicted to scrolling on your phone than any young person I know. This is a guy that can't go 15 minutes without trying to force whoever he's talking to look at some retarded boomer Facebook memes on his phone. Back to what they were saying about men not being handy anymore and men not having any productive hobbies, like men not being able to fix up cars anymore. Yeah, no shit. Boomers wouldn't have been into fixing up cars either if they had grown up in a time where there was video games and social media and free streaming adult content just a click away. Any younger guys these days that are into cars or similar hobbies, that's usually because their dad got them into it. Their dad played an active role in their lives, teaching them about things, making it fun and exciting for them. Most of these boomer parents did not play an active role in our lives. How can you expect a kid growing up these days to take up working on cars as a hobby when nobody's helping show him the ropes? And oh yeah, also he's got instant access to infinite TV shows, movies, streaming videos of all kinds, video games. They got social media algorithms right there in their pocket designed to get them addicted, and nobody's even paying attention to what the hell they're looking at on their phones. You really expect that kid to take up working on cars as a hobby? You expect that kid to fix things up for fun? Are you an idiot? Men that came up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s Yeah, of course, a lot of those guys got into handy types of hobbies. What else were they going to do? Watch the same episode of MASH for the 20th time? You had like 3 TV channels and they all stopped broadcasting at like 10 p.m. When there's nothing to do, people will find things to do. But guys in my generation and younger, there's always something to do. There's always something to keep you entertained. A young man can keep himself entertained with streaming videos for a long time. Don't expect little Braden and Jaden and Aiden and Caden to be into fixing things up when they can just pull their phone out of their pocket any second of any day and get on TikTok and watch videos of all the popular girls from their school dancing in front of the camera in yoga shorts. It's a whole different world the younger generation's coming up in today. And it's a whole nother world even for millennials like myself. I had unrestricted internet access when I was like 9 years old. And in some ways, the internet was more dangerous back then, especially for a lad with a more inquisitive mind. That shit was the Wild West. Y'all don't even want to know the shit I saw as a little kid. I wish I could forget some of it. I'm not even joking. I saw some rotten images on the internet. Rotten, okay? Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. I wish I could unsee these things. And nobody in my life knew how to protect me from that. I was just on my own in that regard. Also, I do know how to fix a leaky faucet. Thank you very much. And another thing, vehicles these days are intentionally manufactured to be hard to fix for a regular person with regular everyday tools. Everything's connected to a computer. That's another reason why a guy coming up these days, even if he is into cars, he's not going to be into cars in a productive way. Like, he's not going to be working on cars, really. If anything, he'll just be really into Forza or something. Actually doing auto mechanic stuff as a hobby is just really out of reach for the average youth today. Especially since their dads aren't teaching them anything about it. Not to mention, cars are insanely expensive now, and car parts are insanely expensive. What used to be considered more of a working class kind of hobby is now a hobby that is only reserved for the well-off. So I don't know what these boomers expect. My aunt also just couldn't help but say something about how men these days are too afraid to even leave their mommy's house, which I don't know if she meant that to be a jab at me or if she just wasn't thinking about it, but either way, what a stupid thing to say. Real estate prices are crazy these days, and the job market sucks, and most jobs don't pay anything close to what they used to. And it's crazy too because my aunt has moved and sold her old house not very long ago, like within the last year. And I remember hearing her talking about how expensive houses were now. So she knows that the cost of living is really high, but somehow she just can't connect the dots and figure out that fewer men these days are able to move out on their own because, they can't afford to. Homes are too expensive. Rent is too expensive. And part of the problem is when they build new houses these days, and even new apartment buildings, they're too fucking big. I swear, every new housing development I see popping up is just like a subdivision full of McMansions. And they start out asking like $400,000, $500,000 for these 4-bedroom houses. I live in what was historically a low cost of living area, by the way, and I think it still is relative to other parts of the country, but it's just insane, the cost of housing these days. And every new apartment complex I see popping up, it's always advertised as quote-unquote luxury apartments, and they'll be asking $1,100 for a 1-bedroom because it has stainless steel appliances and an open living room design concept, which just means that the kitchen and the living room are essentially in the same room, which is something they do to save money, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's what it's for. Like, it's not for the benefit of the person that's going to live there. It's because there's 2 less walls they have to pay to construct. That's why they build it like that. By the way, these luxury stainless steel appliances are shit. They're garbage. They are not built to last. And why don't magnets even stick to these modern stainless steel appliances half the time? Is this really even steel? Is this even metal? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know how magnets work. I probably just said something stupid. But seriously, the luxury appliances are absolute horse hockey, okay? The apartments and the McMansions themselves are built horribly. I'd be afraid to be living in one of these new constructions during a tornado. These things are held together with sticky tack. They are not worth the price tag. But the price tag says $350,000 for a 3-bedroom starter home with some useless HOA fees tacked on top of that. Meanwhile, entry-level engineering jobs are offering $60,000 a year, the same damn salary they were offering 20 freaking years ago, or close to it. But 20 years ago, that starter home would have only cost $130,000, and it probably would have been built better too. The economy is hostile towards young men these days. It is damn near impossible to make it on your own, but oh no, this younger generation aren't real men. They're just little boys afraid to leave their mommy's house. Yeah, that's why men are still living with their parents well into their late 20s and even into their 30s and older. Yeah, that's it. It has nothing to do with the insane hyperinflation we've been experiencing in recent years. Has nothing to do with that. It's just because we're all scared little boys afraid to leave our mommy's house. That's all it is. Oh no, what would we do without our mommies? I don't know. Probably, we'd still be able to find a job that pays a halfway decent salary. Did you ever think that maybe women in the workforce and all that affirmative action that still goes on effectively works to drive wages into the fucking floor while also just making it a lot harder for any man to start a good career because we're all competing with young women who all got the golden goddamn ticket when all these corporations care about is their little ESG score. Oh, do I sound unhinged right now? Am I off the hinges? If you're a man living in this world right now and you're still on the hinge, then you're the one that's messed up. We should all be raising hell about the way things are going. We can't afford homes. We can't afford apartments. It's hard to even afford to rent a room. And when you do half the time, that's some kind of illegal tenant situation where you have no legal protection. Oh, and most of us can't get laid either. Women want nothing to do with us because we're all just broke losers. And if you're not the top 10% in terms of looks, then you're just screwed anyways. I would love to move out and live on my own. I would love that. But that's just not realistic now. I did live on my own for a while, and yes, it was my own fault I quit my job when I had a decent job, but it shouldn't be this hard to find a good job now. And I can't move out now anyways because my aunt and her moron husband didn't do a good job raising their daughter, so now I have to look after their grandson for them while my cousin goes around doing God knows what. Like she doesn't even care that she brought life into this world. And in a way, I almost can't even blame her because she's a part of the younger generation too. And the older generation completely failed us. I mean, obviously, she should be a good mother to her son, but I can recognize that her parents did not raise her in a way that would lead to her being a good person. Also, I can recognize that we live in a society that incentivizes young women like her to live hedonistically. So, she needs to get it together and try to be there for her son. I don't think it's too late. It's too late for her to be a perfect mother, but she could still today, come try. She could try. And, she could probably get some corporate fake email job pretty easily if she wasn't dumb enough to get tattoos on her neck, but whatever. whatever. I think that ship has sailed. But back to the topic at hand. Still to this day, whenever I talk to my dad, he always has to say something about how it should be easy for me to get a job because I have a master's degree. And I agree it should be, but he actually thinks it is easy. He can't comprehend that a master's degree in computer science isn't a golden ticket anymore. He still thinks any degree at all guarantees a high-paying job. No matter how many times I tell him, it's not like that anymore. I've even tried to walk through it with him step by step, and I can get him to agree that the supply of workers with bachelor's degrees and better has drastically increased. He'll agree to the fact that pretty much everyone gets a degree nowadays and that the degrees are easy to get. He will agree to that, and he will agree to the fact that the workforce has essentially doubled since back in his day, since most women also work these days, and they increasingly are working jobs that were historically male-dominated. He will agree to all that, but he just cannot wrap his brain around the fact that demand for work is not increasing proportionally with the supply of labor. That part he just can't comprehend. He's got some kind of a mental block. We'll walk through all the steps up to that point with him agreeing every step of the way. Then we get to the point of, okay, so there's a lot more people looking for work that are qualified to work any given job compared to the number of jobs that actually exist. We get to that point and it's like, I don't know, he just melts down. He's just like, you have a master's degree. All you have to do is apply. Have you even tried calling any of these companies? He literally says that. He always tries to tell me I should be calling companies on the phone, which I don't know. Maybe you could find a job that way in some cases, but I doubt it. That's just not the way it works these days, especially for programming jobs. These companies hiring software developers are usually utilizing all of the cutting-edge AI bullshit that just deletes your resume as soon as you submit it because you didn't have the right keywords on there. And also, this is kind of beside the point, but I try to tell my dad how for programming jobs, it's not as simple as I got my degree, now I'm qualified, and I just got to send my resume around. I try to tell him how they always want you to have recent projects you've been working on. They want you to have a GitHub repository with recent commits. It's not like jobs back in the day where you would get a degree and companies just assumed you could do the job competently because you had the degree. The universities have completely failed us when it comes to computer science and software engineering specifically because these corporations have no faith whatsoever in a person's ability to write working code just because they have a degree. And I don't blame them for that. You can't blame them for that because it's true. I got a master's degree from what is considered one of the best schools in the entire world. And it is a fact that you could get the same degree I have without actually knowing how to code. You absolutely could do that. I made sure to take some of the more intensive courses that were available. I made sure I was actually learning. I already had a few personal projects under my belt before I even started on the degree, so I feel like I got my money's worth in the sense that, like, knowledge-wise, I got my money's worth in terms of what I learned. But it's useless in terms of getting a job. But yeah, my dad can't understand how it's like, in order for me to get hired in this field, I have to continually stay on the grind working on personal projects, essentially working for no pay just to prove I even know how to do the job. The universities are so incompetent, the industry can't actually trust any of the graduates to even have basic knowledge. My dad acts like me having the degree means that someone will hire me, like people are just going to be lining up to offer me a six-figure salary, but that's not how it works at all. And I was on my Grizzy for a while. I have lots of personal projects I've done over the years, but I still wasn't getting hired, so I don't know what anyone expects me to do now. Like, I'm not going to keep working my ass off, not getting paid a single dime. I'm not going to keep grinding out these retarded LeetCode code problems. It's just brain teasers. You know the answer if you memorize it. A person's ability to solve a whiteboard coding problem during an interview is just a function of how big a cuck that person is. It has nothing to do with your ability to write code. It has everything to do with your willingness to be a cuck with no respect for your own time, so you're willing to spend hours upon hours of your own time doing unpaid labor, memorizing all these different little brain teasers. I'm not going to keep doing that for years. I was on that grind for a while. I'm not going to keep doing that. I can't even get interviews anyways. I'm done. I'm done with that. It's bullshit. I know part of the problem is I'm even looking for programming jobs in the first place. The timing of when I finished my degree was the exact worst time in history to get into that career path. I might have better luck in the field my bachelor's degree was in, but I have a several years long gap on my resume for that, so I kind of doubt it. I think I'm screwed there too. I really don't know what younger people are even supposed to do these days. The traditional career path is dead. The companies that hire people still require you to have a degree, but they don't even trust that you having the degree means anything as far as how capable you would be to work the job. None of this makes any sense. And it's also crazy because all the colleges are laser focused on job training. They have fully transitioned away from their original purpose of educating people into becoming good citizens capable of critical thought. They're basically just trade schools now. But they aren't even doing a good job at that. The actual industries have zero trust in people graduating these days. So what even is the point of college? You still have to do it because they still require you to have the degree, even though industry obviously recognizes the degrees are useless. So it's like, we're forcing the young people in our society to go through this useless system where everything they're learning is 15 years behind the state of the industry. And even in disciplines that should be timeless and completely decoupled from any industry, such as humanities, literature, history, philosophy, and all that, well, for one thing, they still try to focus on job training, which, of course, they are failing miserably at. But then even when they are just focusing on education for education's sake, the primary focus isn't on critical thought, independent thought, the ability to synthesize information and formulate new ideas. They don't give a shit about all that. In fact, that is antithetical to what they're focused on. The primary focus is on indoctrinating everyone to be woke. So, I don't know. Our society tells all the young people they have to go through this 4 to 5 year long process where everyone already knows nothing they're learning is useful. Plus, it's expensive as shit. And then at the end of it, what value did they get from going through that? What is the reward? I don't know. It's all screwed up. And these old folks are completely out of touch. If you enjoyed the video or you feel like you got anything out of it, please check out some of my other videos. There's also some secret videos you can watch for free on my Patreon if that interests you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.